Alright, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the van here and what just happened, you know, with this road trip I did. I spent about 3 months living out of the van, cross-country trip, drove from Los Angeles to New Jersey, had some stops along the way. It's not going to be perfect video, some sound, trucks working on the road, whatnot, people walking by, so apologize. You know by now if you see my videos, I'm not Joe Pro. It's an 04 Astro van. It was an all-wheel drive, and I bought it because I wanted to do more cross-country trips. I want to get out in the back roads and do custom woodwork for people that can afford me. You know, there's a lot of people out there that have cabins and custom homes off the beaten path, and I want to be a guy you can call and go do work on your house. I design and build custom furniture, and I do smaller, higher-end home improvement work. Everything I do is kind of creative and unique and very good quality. So wanting to do that, the Astro van was the right choice for me. I like a small compact vehicle. I also live in the city, so getting around, zipping around, parking it, all that, it all made sense. I love these things. I'm not going to get into the whole history of the Astro van here, but the all-wheel drive was great, and but I wanted the four-wheel drive, and I kind of needed a lift. This vehicle had some issues with the body where it sat all the time. I had some torsion bar issues. One had been replaced. I don't think it was factory. Passenger side was I could never get it where I wanted it, and it was a hassle. I figured if I get the body lift, it'll take care of it. So I went to Journeys Off-Road in Prescott, Arizona. I like those guys, likable guys. I had a little bit of drama there. I'm not a drama kind of guy. I'm going to get into it because you should know. You know, they've got a great product and they do pretty good work. Just with me in particular, there was a couple times where there was some bullshit, and I don't like bullshit artists. You know, like, for instance, my tires. The sidewalls on my tires are a little rubbed. That's because the building I live in was built in 1926, and there's a curb, and it's very narrow, and if I had the stock wheels and tires on the van, it would drive down no problem. I had another Astro van, didn't have a problem. With these method wheels, they're offset wider, it's got a fatter tire than it needs to be on there, so I have to roll up onto the curb and ride the curb down. And when the white lettering was out there, it wore through and created a white wall on the sides. I didn't like it. A lot of people gave me grief for it in the groups on social media and everything. And so I spun the tires around on the rims, and when I had the van there with these guys, the air looked a little low to me. I had just loaded the van, had a ton of weight in the van, and they were trying to convince me that the truck wouldn't even get to New Jersey with those tires. And that was the first little bit of the moment when the bullshit meter went off in my head, because I'm thinking, these are Hanook all-terrain heavy-duty tires. I think they got like a 10-ply sidewall on them or something. So that's bullshit. I made it there and back, no problem. Matter of fact, I got a front-end alignment in Virginia, and I said, yeah, I know I need new tires. And the guy looked at me and says, you don't need new tires. There's nothing wrong with these tires. They're fine. Well, what about the sidewall? He goes, you know how thick the sidewall is on these tires? No problem. So, you know, I think most of the people that these guys deal with when they actually bring a van in to have the work done are people that have never wrenched on a vehicle before or have very limited experience wrenching on vehicles. So they can tell them whatever they want, and they're just going to believe it. Part of my issue was I had called like 3 times before I went there. Spoke with Mike, very gregarious guy, nice guy. I told him my whole situation. Hey man, I carry a lot of heavy weight, uneven loads. I got airbags on the van now. I need to have them on there. He's like, yeah, no problem. We could do the airbags. We could do the transfer case swap and your lift all in a day. That didn't happen. To make matters worse, when I got on the road with it at speed, you know, the thing was doing this very dangerously. There's no way I can even over-exaggerate how bad it was. It was really scary. And pulled the vehicle around. That was totally unsafe. I needed to have the airbags on the van, and I called them and had them ship them to me. And I specifically said include all the hardware, and they did not include all the bolts to put it back on. So I had to spend like another $40 just to get the fucking thing back on there. So that was very frustrating. And the transfer case, I went with the new transfer case, and it's leaking. The case itself doesn't leak. It's the part where the drive shaft comes in. It looks like a mini bell housing that attaches to the case. It leaks from there. You could see it clear as day. There just wasn't enough gasket sealer right there. It's not a big deal. I can top it off. But, you know, you're paying for it. It's the new one. It shouldn't have leaked. I wasn't even giving a lot of grief for that, but when I talked to Mike on the phone about it, he said to me that it was my fault for distracting Tom when he was putting it together. And that's bullshit. Because when you build a transfer case, you build a fucking transfer case. It's done. When you install, it's a separate issue. If they would have had a new transfer case shipped to them and put it in, same thing. It has nothing to do with me. That's bullshit. So, and even with Tom, he tried to convince me I didn't need the airbags. He said, well, off-road, it's better not to have anything there. Dude, you know my situation. The truck is right in front of you. It's loaded with tools. There's tools on the roof. You know, you see, it's right in front of you. So, all that was a little bit of a hassle. But I'm still happy with the product. and the fuel economy is better. The way it pulls is better. The way it finds the gears in the transmission is better. I'm going 85, 90 miles an hour up mountains, loaded, no problem. I probably shouldn't do that, but I did it. That's about it. I want to get into the van and show you what I did to put the airbags back on and show you what's going on here. Because right now, it's sitting about where I want it. I did get the keys from them, the bigger keys to lift the front end if I want to. Right now the airbags are on. I don't have any air in them. And also the van's pretty much empty, so it's sitting okay. I have a leak on one side. I have to fix that. And I will show you what I did here. It was real simple. I just put this square tubing. What I did was I cut a channel in the bottom of the square tubing so that I could get a ratchet up in there so I could bolt that tubing to the bottom of the frame. And you can see how this works. You can see that the top of the airbag has kind of an L bracket that originally had 3 bolts that bolted to the side of the frame. And this works, but what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put a plate. I'm going to make a plate. It's going to go from here down. I'm going to bolt it to the side of the frame and to the side of the block. This block is a little small. I could have went with a larger one. I just didn't have it. So I went with what I had. I had to put them on. It was imperative for the drive back. And these are, they tried to tell me, oh, airbags are cheap. They're like 80 bucks. Well, these are the top of the line Firestones, man. I didn't know that. I looked it up. I talked to some people. And these things range anywhere from 350 bucks to $600. So I'm glad I got them back. I'm thinking about this rear suspension. You guys might be able to school me on this. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that, you know, if you're going to do this lift kit and you're going to do a camper, a lot of people are doing camper build outs in their vans. You're adding a lot of weight to the van. The rear end on these things with just the stock leaf spring, this is not good enough. You should at least get the helper spring. A lot of people are putting S10 springs. I think I'm going to do that. You tell me. People are saying they're getting 2 to 3 inches out of a S10 spring. I don't know how that's going to work with the 5-inch kit. I don't want to go super crazy, but I would like to rigid it up. The airbags are going to work fine, but I feel like the leafs themselves could use a little bit. I'm leaning towards a helper spring on that. I got to redo the rack. I looked at what Journeys has there, and what they do is they make these L brackets that mount where the factory rack mounts. And then their basket sits on top. And they did a bunch of engineering with that so that they're placed in an order where the basket sits square. You know, I think what they do is pretty cool. It's not heavy duty enough for what I need it for, so I'm going to come up with my own system. You might get a kick out of this interior. There's nothing special going on here. I still plan on ripping out the interior on this to gain more space on the sides, do my thing. But this is an interesting system here. It's just 2 boxes with this deck. It all comes out and it sets up outside as a table, which is nice. There's just a 3-inch foam pad on here. Very comfortable. 3 months I slept in this thing. This whole entire area was packed with tools. This cantilever here, I had a table saw under there. I have it set up this way because if I go do a job, I can put my toolboxes and bags under here and still have some area for material. You know, this works out okay for me. It's a little high. You know, you can't sit up in the bed without your head hitting. I can't tell you how many times my head hit that light. What a pain in the ass. So what's going to happen is this is going to come out. I'm going to rip out this interior, and I'm in my mind right now I'm kind of constructing a system where there's going to be a narrow built-in along here with storage and some sort of pull down, flip out side thing. Maybe it's going to accordion out for a bed that'll go a little wider, and possibly some sort of cabinet that comes up here. But I do want to keep the space inside this like a cargo area, so it's going to be interesting. Same thing here, slight build out to the wheel well, up and in storage. Maybe a low hanging cabinet here. I like being able to see out this window. I like that the side window's open. I don't want to cover all that. This one doesn't matter so much. So it's going to be an interesting, fun thing. Anyhow, if you're going to do it, do it. If you have the means to lift, to do the kits yourself, do that. You know, it's pretty cool. I did enjoy sleeping in this thing. I was very lucky, very fortunate. Back in Jersey, I had a pal who let me park in his driveway at his business at a bait and tackle shop. So I had power, I had a bathroom in the morning, I had a place to eat, and that was very cool. Thanks, John, man. Couldn't have done it without you. And so that's just the update on this thing. It, you know, I replaced everything in the front end on this thing. I did the wheel hub assembly on this side. I did upper and lower ball joints. I did both CV axles. I had to do the motor mounts. Oh, that's the other thing. I got to tell this story. This is kind of funny. It's a journey story again. I feel like I'm giving those guys a bunch of grief, and I don't mean to, but that's the way it shakes out, man. When I was talking to Mike on the phone the last time, he says, "Oh, that guy on YouTube with the engine mounts, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about." I said, "I am that guy." I want to make sure we're still rolling here. And and I explained it to him that the engine mount sag. The new ones don't work. The all-wheel drive Astro van requires a different engine mount anyhow that they don't make anymore. In the all-wheel drive engine mounts, they're slid back inside the cages about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, and the torque of that motor wants to pull that rubber down, and there's a gap on either side. Now, on the factory, it's quality stuff, and it lasts a long time, but eventually breaks down, and the torque of that motor pulls the motor down on one side, and your oil pan slightly rubs the axle. Happens to everybody. You put the new ones in, and it happens right away. And there was a little argument there. Well, when I went to their place, they had a chassis of an all-wheel drive Astro van sitting there. Motor mounts were still in it. And lo and behold, clear as day were the engine mounts, and the engine bushing, the bushing on that engine mount was slid all the way down. I was like, there it is, motherfucker. So, yeah. That's how it works. So go with the Prothane bushing kit. Take your cages apart. Shape it down. It'll all glue itself back together there. Make sure you get the rear offset correct, and you're golden. I also did a riser plate for mine because it needed it, because the distance from the bottom bolt to the center of that bushing is lower with the Prothane kit than it is with the factory. So I make a riser plate and made mine perfect. And that's it for now. I will be doing some more updates. I won't be talking any more smack because I'll be done with that whole situation here pretty soon. And again, I do like the guys, and they do make a good product. So I'm not telling you not to buy the product. Buy the product. It's good stuff. But, you know, I've been wrenching on vehicles since before I was old enough to drive them. I don't think they're used to that. And I didn't want to argue with them while it was happening because they were doing the work to the truck, you know. But don't bullshit me. I hate that. I hate being bullshitted too. So, have a good day. Bye.